Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney, and today is Thursday, April 28th. Thank you for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Here on 3 News Now, we bring you the stories that matter most to you here in Northeast Ohio. These are the stories that you are clicking on, reading, and sharing from our website and our app. And we start with video of a fiery crash on the Ohio Turnpike. This happened last night, and thankfully we can say that no one was hurt during the situation, but both eastbound and westbound lanes of the Turnpike were closed along the West Ridge overpass because of this. And we've got video now from the Ohio Department of Transportation of fire shooting into the sky after this situation. What happened was 2 semi-trucks collided. This was around 8:15 last night. This was near the Middle Ridge Road area of I-90. And what happened was there was a semi-truck that was driving something like a resin or a glue, and it became disabled. And then someone else came that was driving another semi-truck and hit that disabled vehicle, and that is when sparks really started to fly. Now, the disabled vehicle with the glue in it was being driven by a 34-year-old driver from California, and the driver that struck that semi-truck, that driver was a 57-year-old man from Florida. Because of the hazardous materials in that disabled semi-truck, it was an explosion that went on for the next hour, and we do have that video on WKYC.com. It's incredible, and thankfully, again, no one was hurt in the situation. We do know that there is not any alcohol expected to have been involved. Both of the drivers were wearing their seatbelts, but just incredible video. And there is also new video that has just been released. This is street camera video of a man assaulting a woman in February. This was in Akron's Highland Square. You may have remembered this video was very well shared on social media. It was where a man who police have identified as Andrew Walls of Kent was seen on video calling a woman, Cameron Morgan, the N-word and then punching her in the face. So now this new video shows the situation from multiple angles. This is street camera video. Back in February, Morgan told 3 News about what happened from her perspective of the situation and said that she had heard a man calling people the N-word while she was out with friends, tried to get him to stop, and then he assaulted her. She had to go to the hospital for her injuries. Now, since then, she has filed a lawsuit against him, and Walls is facing charges here locally. As well, Akron police told 3 News that the FBI is also investigating if he should be charged with a hate crime. But that new video is available on WKYC to see the different angles of that situation. And now there's a father who is speaking out after his 13-year-old son was allegedly assaulted by classmates at a school within the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. Police say that he was kicked and punched in the upper body at Franklin D. Roosevelt Academy, and this is supposed to have happened during recess. That's according to his father, Tariq Mitchell. He said his son was bleeding very heavily. He shared photos, which some of them are difficult to look at, but you can see them on WKYC.com, after he says a group of students attacked his son during recess. Now, a case report filed by an officer with the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, a criminal case record filed by an officer, said that it started with the game, but it escalated when 3 female students then chased him, and while he was on the ground, started with the punching and the kicking of his face and his torso. And his father told 3 News his son is not back in school right now, that he is afraid and physically not able to attend, and that's where it's at, and that it's a kind of touch-and-go situation. Now, Cleveland police were also called in, and a spokesperson told 3 News they're waiting on information from the school to determine whether to file assault charges. The father said that he had unreturned calls to Cleveland Metropolitan School District CEO Eric Gordon and the school board, so he went to a meeting on Monday night. And CMSD has told 3 News that they take student safety very seriously. That's why they've placed security guards and metal detectors in every building, and that they are taking follow-up measures and assigning a second security guard to the school. Questions about where and how the incident happened and if video exists did not get answered. The father said, though, that we need to remind kids that they're at school to learn and to make sure that schools are safe, and kids cannot learn in an environment that is not safe. Speaking of much older former students, President Joe Biden is now talking about potentially forgiving some student loan debt. He said he might forgive some and he might further extend the pause on federal student loan repayments. He confirmed that today when he was shouted a question. He said he is considering dealing with some debt reduction. He said he is not considering $50,000 debt reduction per student, but he says he's in a process of taking a hard look at where additional debt forgiveness might go. So the president said he would provide more information in the next several weeks about the White House's plan for any executive actions targeting student loans. There are 43 million Americans with about $1.6 trillion in student loans. That's according to federal figures. So any sort of cancellation would come as good news to this group of people. I am among this group of people. And the Democrats would consider this a win because progressive leadership had been pressuring Biden to make good on a campaign promise that he would immediately cancel up to $10,000 in debt payments for those federal student loan borrowers. So this is definitely the most forceful that the president has spoken about this, but far from a promise, far from fulfilling that campaign promise for sure. So we'll continue to watch what goes on there. Now here in Ohio, there's been a Senate bill introduced that would abolish personal income tax in 10 years. Now, this is not necessarily revolutionary around the country. If Ohio does move forward with this, that would make it the 10th state to do so. One of the most notable without income tax, that's the state of Florida. So again, if Ohio does this, it would be the 10th. So 9 other states already doing this. State Senator Stephen Huffman, a Republican, introduced the bill SB 327. He says that if it were to pass, every Ohioan would benefit. And he says he sees the business, the workers, and the government bringing more economic development if this were a situation here in Ohio. He believes that everyone in Ohio would benefit, yes, but not everyone agrees with that. Senator Nikki Antonio, a Democrat from Lakewood, says he thinks the wealthiest Ohioans would win the most and the lowest income people in the state would end up paying more in the long run. We'll keep you posted on what happens there. And since it is Thursday, we do have the latest COVID-19 numbers in, and the COVID cases do continue to rise. What we do know is that this week there are 8,731 cases of COVID-19 that have been reported. And if we're taking a look at the confirmed number of deaths, it's now at 38,428. The total number of people in the hospital being treated for COVID-19 is at 423, and the total number of people being treated in the ICU out of that 423, that is at 50. And that brings us to a question a lot of people have. A lot of people want to know when children 5 and under might be able to get those COVID-19 shots, and Moderna is working on that. They have asked the Food and Drug Administration to clear low-dose shots for babies, toddlers, and preschoolers. It would be a 2-dose regimen at this point, and it hopes to be able to protect those children younger than 6. Now, Moderna said that the 2 kid doses were about 40% to 50% effective at preventing symptomatic COVID-19. Certainly not a home run, but better than nothing. Dr. Paul Burton, Moderna's chief medical officer, said that it's an important unmet medical need here with these young kids, and that the 2 kid-sized shots will safely protect him, and that it's likely over time they will probably need additional shots. They are working on that, but this is a first step in the situation. And what we do know from medical professionals is about 3/4 of children of all ages, that includes that group under 6 that are not yet eligible to be vaccinated, show signs that they have been infected at some point with COVID-19 during the pandemic. Now today, Thursday, is the first day of the 2022 NFL Draft, and that is usually a huge day for the Cleveland Browns, but there is no number 1 pick for the Browns this year. That's because they traded away their number 1 pick. They would have had the number 13 overall pick. Instead, that pick was traded to the Houston Texans when the Browns chose to take on controversial quarterback Deshaun Watson, who is now facing 22 civil lawsuits for alleged sexual misconduct. So, with that happening today in the NFL Draft, instead of the Browns taking that number 1 pick, we are kind of looking at what could potentially impact the Browns today. Here is one thing. There's a list of multiple things on WKYC.com, but one thing to watch for is what does Carolina do at number 6? Because the Carolina Panthers have been considered a possible landing spot for Browns' current quarterback, Baker Mayfield. He is still on the roster at quarterback for the Browns. So, depending on what the Panthers do at number 6, that could be telling on what might happen with Baker Mayfield in the coming days. If the Panthers take a quarterback, That may mean that they are no longer shopping for Baker Mayfield, but if they take any position other than quarterback, that could free up a potential scenario where Mayfield does end up signed with the Panthers this weekend. Anything can happen on NFL Draft Day. Lots of moves are made at the last moment, so of course we will wait to see what happens today, and a lot of people will be anxiously waiting to see what Carolina specifically does at number 6. And with it being Thursday, that's the day that we release our Good News show, and we have lots of great stories to make you smile this week. I want to shout out 2 of them in particular. First up, there's a group of 3 sisters who are the youngest people ever to own their own store at the Great Lakes Mall in Menor. I am talking about 3 girls, 6-year-old Rave, 7-year-old Riley, and 10-year-old Maya. They are the proud owners of Skin District. So this is shampoos, soaps, those kinds of things. Check it out. It's right by the JCPenney in the Great Lakes Mall in Menor, and it's incredible. This is part of our Good Vibes Only segment. We're sending good vibes to these young entrepreneurs, wishing them lots of luck. So if you're in the market for that kind of thing, maybe that's your stop in the Great Lakes Mall. And my personal win of the week, very excited about this. There's a comedian, Eliza Schlesinger. She's incredibly talented. I find her personally hilarious. She's been wildly successful. That's objectively true. And she has a tour that's happening right now. It's called the Back in Action Tour. She just had a baby, so this is her back in action moment. And I was looking at her tour. I was looking to see if she had any Cleveland dates, and she didn't have any listed until this week when she announced not only is she coming to Cleveland on July 23rd, she is filming her 6th Netflix special here in Cleveland at the Connor Palace at Playhouse Square. How about that? Cleveland highlighted on the national stage, so they'll be a part of that special when that's released, and she'll be filming it here in July. Tickets go on pre-sale tomorrow, so you can check that out, and I would recommend it. I think if you get tickets to that show, it will be your win of the week too. All right, that's it for your 3 News Now update today for Thursday, April 28th. Thanks for being here with me, and I will see you all back here tomorrow on 3 News Now.